Hello. Oh, good, you can hear me. I was worried. I did not do the tech setup properly. I missed like half of my checks before I hit go live, so I'm glad that everything seems to be working. Welcome in. Thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me your time, choosing to spend it with me as I try to review my own games and see how well I did or how badly I did. Um, I, of course, am Dennis, and this is my channel, OKSDM, where wow, I've forgotten my own tagline, where I make mistakes running games so you don't have to. Off to a great start. So, today we are going to be doing part two of a stream I did a good while ago now over on ADH Druids on Twitch. Um, this is part of I ran like a one shot for Grim, which is a setting we will be releasing with sagas, probably several months after the core rulebook comes out in September, October. Excuse me, September, October. Um, it was amazing. This particular group of people was fantastic. It was just a perfect choice for trying to do what I was doing, because I was running an experiment for this game. Essentially, what I was trying to do was start the party split for this one shot and switch between them. Camera kept going back and forth every half hour or so, depending on the scenes. And as they investigated the same house at the same time. Oh, thanks, Dominic. So we will be going through part two. I've already done the first hour or so of this. I have no idea where we left off because it's been so long since I've had a chance to do this. As you saw, I sort of like announced that I was doing this maybe 15 minutes ago. It's sort of some extra time fell into my lap, and I really wanted to get back into reviewing this stream. So I will be walking through my thought process, critiquing things I tried, and seeing, like, determining now whether they worked or not. So I'm very glad that you're here with me on this journey. If you have any questions, whether you're watching this live or watching the VOD afterwards, please ask them. I will be keeping an eye best I can on the stream of chat coming in, and I will be answering every single comment that comes into the VOD afterwards. I am very excited for this. I'll switch us over to the actual stream itself, and hopefully you'll be able to hear the sounds. Let me double check to make sure that this is going to work real quick, because, you know, sometimes things don't work every time. And it does look like you're going to be able to hear it. So, without further ado, let's jump back into this and try to figure out where exactly we were in the story. I'll pause it once I figure it out and catch you up a little.
Clearly, I'm sure aced. So I.
Oh, one last thing. I am going to, since it took so long to get through the first hour last time, we're going to be listening to this on 1.5 times speed, because otherwise there's no chance we'll get through the whole thing. This is a 3.5 hour video. We have 2.5 hours left. So, and plus this way, hopefully you'll be able to tell when it's me in the past speaking and when it's me in the now speaking. Because, you know, my voice is going to sound exactly the same, whether we're listening to the recording or you're listening to me live. So let's jump back in at a little bit faster, and hopefully we'll be able to get through it all.
I didn't want it to be a knock on my record. So yeah, let's go in and check it out.
You better be kind to my friend. That's my friend you're talking about there. You did fine. You'll be fine. And I'll tell you something, bro. If I can climb up in this force, certainly somebody with your attention to detail and dedication to the job and just general empathy will be able to pull it off. So thank you, man. This is why I'm glad we work together. If I could give you a knuckle bump, I would be. So I'm just going to do it to your back, if that's all right.
His tail starts to wag.
So just to clarify, these two characters are animals. That's how the setting of Grimm works. Tobias is a dog being played by Duval. Fantastic guy. I've streamed with him several times. And Sprinkles is a hamster played by Vampire Himbo. Also great dude. I want to work with both of these guys like as many times as possible in the future. They're both so good. And they are both playing cops. Tobias the dog is sort of like new off the finally first actual investigation, and Sprinkles the hamster on his back is sort of like grizzled old, don't want to actually do my job, just want to retire kind of vibe. And they play around a lot with that dynamic, which I think is really fun.
Last little droplets of water getting shaken off.
Totally. Okay. You guys
Go
gonna
around,
take
we get in, we get out.
Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Yeah. And yeah, he'll head into the room.
To speed up the investigation a little bit,
Yeah.
you two start looking around the room. It's very much similar to what you've seen already in this room. Lots of large chemistry setup. You're not really sure exactly what is going on here, but you do see it's weird. There's this contraption sitting on the main table that looks like a squirt gun or a nozzle of a hose, but it has.
Okay, I think I know where we are, and I'll be able to catch you up. So, this is, like I said earlier, the setting is Grimm, which is essentially Victorian steampunk mouse-sized, but also dark. So I'm sort of trying to mix Peaky Blinders, the Netflix show, with the Disney film The Great Mouse Detective, which is it's turning out great. Every single game I've run in this setting so far has been amazing. This one is no exception. Essentially, these two groups, this pair of cops, essentially, is investigating this house because there have been rumors of people or critters going inside and then coming out different and weird. And they were sent to, find out why, make sure everything's being done above board. What weird stuff are the giant humans in there up to? Can we put a stop to it if it's bad? And at the same time, the other pair, which we'll get to, I'm sure, in a second, is trying to escape. One of them is a lab rat that is being experimented on in this lab, and the other one is a crow that they made friends with from the other side of the window. And those two are both inside the building right now, and so are the cops on the first floor. And the cops are on the first floor. The escapees are on the second floor. So they haven't actually met yet at this point. And the cops are going around investigating rooms, and they find this one. It's sort of like a chemistry-esque room. They don't know that anybody else is here yet. But the people upstairs are aware of their presence because the cops did some shouting to make sure it's not sneaky breaking and entering. And they're now investigating this kind of a chemistry room. And there, now you're all caught up. Let's see what happens.
Has fanged jaws out of which whatever's inside would be projected.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he'll kind of hop up on just to get like a close look and kind of.
You see just the nose peek up over the table.
Yep.
Climb up the nose and walk down onto the table.
Totally.
But hamster butt in his face for a second.
Doesn't mind it whatsoever.
I don't know what I'm looking at here.
It's huge.
I've never seen any kind of monster, machine, animal, or any combination there that looks like this, mate. This is some new shit right here.
Sure.
For size comparison, it is small enough where Tobias could probably pick it up with his mouth very easily. But Sprinkles, you have difficulty lifting it.
Right.
Should we confiscate it for evidence?
I mean, probably, but I don't want to. I mean, I think you'll understand better my hesitance when you can see it, mate.
Sure. What's the term? Bag it and tag it? You can always come back.
Can I try to knock the thing that it's on over to get it closer, maybe to the edge of the table, so that Tobias would be able to see it?
Yeah, go ahead and make a check to move it closer to Tobias.
Okay. And the base die for that is a 10, right?
Yep.
I can't make any argument for. All right, here we go. Rolling. It's an 8.
Ooh.
I mean, all these high rolls that I would love in any other setting.
All right, that's how it goes.
I'm getting them out when they're really, really successful.
You start like sort of like get down, push both your paws on it, and like push and push, and it's not really moving that quickly. And you sort of like hip check it once, hip check it again, and on the third time you swing and boom, you see it actually tap against a Bunsen burner, which tink, 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 and as just this cacophony of glass instruments fall to the floor and shatter everywhere.
I think like his default reaction is
Sorry, that's on me.
So I've paused, and this is a tactic that I like to use a lot when a player fails on a check. Make it humorous. In this case, I feel like it was perfectly set up for, you know, these delicate chemistry instruments to just come tumbling down, crashing down. And I think when I was running this, I actually had that in mind as I was designing the room. And this was a room that didn't really have anything in it beforehand. I didn't draw a map for this game. My GM style is very improvisational. I'm making it up on the fly. So this room was one that I didn't expect them to actually go into to investigate. I don't know why I didn't predict that. I should have, but I didn't. So what I did was I sort of like quickly invented something that is going to be interesting and makes sense with the actual, you know, plot that's happening. Makes sense with actually where it is, will be interesting to the plot and further the investigation that they're trying to do. They're in a lab, so chemistry sets isn't going to be a big, you know, yeah, we expect to see this. But the item that they're trying to grab, that's weird. It's like this mechanical cat skull with a nose, like a nozzle coming out of its mouth. And it's just like the head and neck and nothing else, hinting at this thing that has been stalking them, both parties, in this building for the last hour. So they're starting to be able to piece more clues together, even though this room wasn't supposed to be here in the first place. And because there was so much stuff there, I feel like it didn't actually matter. The only thing in this room that matters, they've already found. So it is okay to turn this failure into everything in the room breaks. And I think it really worked out. It's something that I've tried many times and I will continue to do because it works so well. Turning failures into humor, because at most tables, especially the ones that I run, humor is a part of the game. It's not a huge part, depending on the story we're trying to tell, but in most cases, breaking that tension with a laugh is a great way to keep the players engaged, because if it's too tense for too long, the players get tired, and I get tired. So every now and then I like to have, you know, a little bit of a broken tension, like a fake out or a bit of humor to come in. Either one works, but it shouldn't be just all tension all the time. So turning failure into humor is something that I like to do, and is, after a lot of practice doing it, has become second nature and very easy for me to do. Also, welcome in, Alex. Glad you were able to make it. Let's dive back into the VOD.
Me, that was me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, just keep backing up out of the glass on the floor. So
I was trying
As
to get
that crash happens, Hudson and Darwin, you both hear it loud and clear. You are beginning to make your way down the stairs.
So I was going to say something while they were doing that. Can I make
one thing that I think has worked really, really well with this whole two parties in the same building, but so far unaware of each other, or partially unaware of each other. Every single time a loud sound happens, or a loud sound is caused by one party, well, not every single time, but it's a great opportunity to switch to the other one, to see that the other party hears this and to see their reactions to it. This has turned it into sort of a smooth transition where there is something that connects the two scenes. It's not just a hard cut, okay, you're done now, what are you doing? This sort of transition using loud sounds in the same space as a base have worked pretty well. And I think I'm going to lean on those again in the future, if I ever try to do this sort of thing again, where the party is split and unaware of each other's presence. Or even if they are aware of each other's presence, I think it would still work.
Make a craft check to see if I can create kind of like a makeshift flash bomb out of like some components that I have.
Oh Lord.
What kind of... Do you have any explosives training?
No, I did crafting's like electronic, so I was going to use like a really bright like a really bright light bulb, you know, like and just like to where like maybe I would throw it and like it would trigger a flash, like a photography flash. That's what I was thinking.
Okay, yeah, go ahead and make a check.
We go.
That is a 3.
Oh,
And that is a success. You take random stuff out of your pack, and you've managed to find like you found like a tiny camera flash bulb, and you screw it in. This is something you had prepared beforehand, and you screw it in, and now it's ready. It's not. You just need one more twist, and then you can toss it, and the slightest jostle will cause it to flash.
Okay, yeah, so I was preparing that while they were up until the point we heard that crash.
Yeah.
So I love it when players do crazy and very creative sort of things. I'm very much a yes and rule of cool kind of game master. And this is a perfect example of, I have to think on the fly of what is happening. And I think at this point, I didn't have anything in the rules that would sort of like fit this. I mean, like, I think we ended up going with a, shoehorning it into an explosive piece of equipment, which is actually a thing in the rule set. And I was fortunate enough to be able to remember that that's a thing. But even if I didn't, I would be able to, I think I'm confident enough I'd be able to like make up rules on the fly. Some sort of detriment. This thing does pay off later, and it's really good. It creates a good scene. It doesn't pay off well for the person actually using it, but it's again another piece of humor that ends up breaking the tension. And this flash bomb thing that the player wanted to create, I was like, yes, okay, tell me more. And he described what he was doing. And as he was describing that, I wasn't really listening to how he was actually doing that. Instead, I was thinking about, I heard he wants to make a flash bomb. And I'm like, okay, what mechanics are going to work for that? And I honestly sort of like tuned him out for a second and started thinking about, okay, how is this going to work mechanically? Okay, I think I've got it. And by the end of his description, I already had a idea to use this as an explosive and what it would actually do. So the two of you are making your way down the stairs, and as this crash happens, you both see something big, brass, and fast dart across the hallway into a different room.
what the bloody hell was that, mate?
I don't know. I've never seen anything like that. What? That's
It was
it was
fast,
made of
whatever it
brass. It was brass. Why was it brass?
Well,
Who would make something out of brass? I want to know.
If
I
it's
wanna
sort of a mechanical thing, I could take it apart probably.
Oh, I would love to take it apart.
Well, mate,
I
I'd
think-
like to help.
I think we need to figure out what this was. Like, I guess, I'm having this, like, uncontrollable urge to go break that thing down so I know how it works. Whatever it is. If it was mechanical. Like, what were they doing here?
We could always just sort of blow it up and see what happens.
But if we blow it up, we would damage it.
Well, okay.
I can't put it back
Have
together.
I've sort of been coming to see my mate for a long bit of time. If I've like flown around the building and looking in the windows, will I have any idea what this thing is? Have I seen anything like it from sort of the outside of the lab looking in?
Make a check.
All right. Come on, mate.
So this thing that they saw has been teased several times already in this session with like red eyes staring out of shadows. First, something that only the audience could see. Then players got their first glimpse of those eyes. And now this is their first glimpse of more body, more of what it is. And I've been sort of drip feeding them this thing that they're going to have to fight at the end. And everyone knows it's coming. Everyone sees the story beats building to lead up to this confrontation with this brass fast thing. And that's okay if they are expecting it. In fact, that's ideal if they are expecting to have to fight this thing, because they know it's coming, and knowing it's coming increases the tension. If it's just a complete surprise at the end, there's no tension, there's no buildup, and that, I think, is what keeps players at my table more engrossed in the story, is when there is tension. They aren't really sure what's going to happen, or if they know what's going to happen and it hasn't happened yet. And this, if they know something dangerous is going to happen, something risky is going to happen, those are the things that they start looking forward to. Well, not looking forward to, but expecting and fearing in the middle of the session. And it increases that tension, keeps them engaged. And this is a tool I have used many, many times and will continue to use. It works so well to spoon feed more and more details, especially in like a horror game. Specifically, the details you can spoon feed or drip feed them are glimpses of the object of terror. So it doesn't even have to actually be glimpses. It could be smells. It could be sounds. Sounds are great when you don't want them to actually see it yet. They hear something in the darkness and it skitters off into the distance, and they're like, I don't know what that was. Something's here. I'm scared, but we have to keep moving forward. And it just ratchets up that tension one extra level every time they get a new piece of information. One thing that is very important that I've discovered, you can't use the same piece of description. Well, you can, but it doesn't really work as well. Give them something new each time. So you can't describe like metallic skittering down the hallway in the darkness every single time. You have to describe metallic skittering, then a flash of metal, light reflecting off of metal as movement, then a pair of eyes staring out of the darkness. Stuff like that, changing up what it smells like, what they smell, what they hear, and what they see. This increases the tension and keeps the players much more engaged and, tense.
Hey, don't let me down, Hudson. That's a 3.
You remember most of the rooms inside this building, at least the ones that have windows. And you know that the room into which this thing ran is filled with, like, clockwork parts, half built.
I don't like the sound of that one, mate. Darwin, I remember, so, I've flown around a couple times. That room this thing went in is it's like Clockwork Central, mate. It's sort of full of gears and parts and half-complete little oddities and things.
Like, just as he...
So this description, this check, was something I asked for, hoping that he would succeed. Because at this point in the game, there's one room that I did want and need the players to actually find and go into, and that's this clockwork parts room with, all the extra clues inside as to what's going on here. At this point, they're probably putting together something here is being built. There's one of these things running around and is going to try to tear us apart. And that's like the obvious guess. And as long as all the clues I'm laying down point towards that, the tension continues to just increase and increase and increase. These clockwork parts and this room was something that I was hoping he would find, because I would need them to go in and find all the clues. And it's sort of where I've been planning on having that final battle. So whenever a player is making a check to find information, figure out a way to make whatever information you give them lead them to the next piece of plot. In this case, it'll be the fight at the end of the one shot. So at this point, I'm like, our character introductions have been done. Now everything is about the plot, and I need to, every single detail I can muster has to point towards that stuff. From Alex in live chat, one key to building tension is to swap between senses in the description. Smell is a powerful emoter, hearing is a powerful emoter. The more senses we can describe that aren't vision, the tighter the tension can build. Yes, 100% agree. I still struggle with remembering to do this. Like when I'm trying to build tension, I'll describe like something that they can just barely see. But instead, what I should be doing is describing a smell or a sound. And, you know, it's hard to remember, especially if you got like a wild ADD brain like me. But it's one detail that I think is pretty universal for TTRPG descriptions, even when you're not really trying to build tension. My go-tos at this point are how the air smells, how the air feels on your skin, and what you hear. Those three things, I try to do at least one or two of them before I start describing what the characters can see. And that is, I think that is one thing that I've been able to build into my natural motions as I'm trying to describe something. And it's worked. It's worked really, really well to avoid describing what characters see until you describe what their other senses can pick up.
He's saying clockwork parts and oddities and things. His eyes just get bigger and bigger, and his ears just kind of like perk up and like, you were holding out on me, Hudson.
Well, mate, I wanted to surprise you when we broke you out.
Oh, well, I guess surprise then. I'm surprised.
Mate,
Yeah.
we escaped from the mandate.
We have to go. We like. Do you think we have time with the cops? Like, I would love.
All that crashing noise that they was making downstairs, I think we're going to hear him coming a mile away, mate. Let's go check it out.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah.
You two dart downstairs, half running, half flying, and you take up positions on either side of this slightly open door. Meanwhile, in the chemistry room, glass everywhere.
Oh boy. Oh, geez.
No, you're right. That was a lot of
So that scene with Darwin and Hudson, the rat and the crow, was particularly short. One thing I'm trying to do here is, like, they're finally about to come downstairs. And as they get closer and closer to meeting each other, these two parties get closer and closer to meeting each other, I am trying to shorten the scene time between them. Sort of like bum, 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 and another way to see if that also builds tension. I don't know if it actually worked. Maybe it worked a little bit. I'm still on the fence about it, to be honest. I'm going to have to, keep watching right now and see if it actually did build tension. Read the players' reactions to what's happening, and see how I feel about it as an audience member now.
a lot of festival noises and also flying glass everywhere.
Yeah, I'm fine. I feel at this juncture we can feel pretty confident that we've done our due diligence. You wanted a lab, we've seen a lab. You wanted to investigate the house, we've investigated the house.
Right.
I think
About
I've
50% of it, yeah.
the bargain. I feel like it would be kosher with the cap if we, I mean, there may be a second floor.
Sure.
We can give it a quick sweep, or we can see if there's a basement as well. But the quicker we get out here, and he's gonna like start walking toward where hopefully Tobias's nose is still.
Yeah.
And he's gonna do like a little hamster slide down Tobias's face into the little.
Yeah, he's like trying to like stay away from the glass, like just trying to pop around it. Let's just make a quick pop around the second floor, and then we can call it a day.
I gotta say, I'm really proud of myself on this. Not this predicament, but just like my dedication to police work today. I feel like it's been on it.
I'm learning so much from you. Yeah, I quite agree. Also, what about the blue lights?
The what?
As this conversation is going, you exit the room. Hudson and Darwin, you see the two.
And there's another switch again. Just want to catch up on live chat. Alex is saying again, pace builds or relaxes tension. You move fast, the players move fast. The DM moves slower, the players reciprocate. Yes, this I have found to be true as well. However, pacing in storytelling in general is very hard, like very high level stuff. It is, there's classic storytelling beats that you need to like get down in order to tell a good story. You need, a good setting. You need to have a good plot. You need to have good characters that have good relationships. And in this case, by good, I don't mean good versus evil. I mean, or good versus bad. I mean, like, you can have a bad relationship, and that is good for the story. That is another thing that sort of like builds tension. Is something bad is happening, that's tension. But pacing and when you tell what and how much detail is in between larger events is something that is extremely high level that I think only good writers can do. But good pacing, as long as it has the framework of everything else that I just mentioned, good pacing is what leads to a truly great story as opposed to just a good one. Like I said, it's something very difficult. You can't just like, you're moving fast. Okay, now you're slow. It has to be a gradual change. And that's something that's very, very hard to do, especially if you're doing it live. So it's, I think, something that if you're just starting out, it's not really something to focus on. There's a lot of other baseline things that you need to get down first, because if the pacing is good, but you don't actually care about the characters, or you don't actually care about the plot, the NPCs, nothing, then even if the pacing's good, it's still not going to be good itself. Like, the whole thing has to be cohesive. Pacing is one of the like last puzzle pieces, the top of the pyramid you're building. So if you think you're there, you can start focusing on it. It took me a long time to realize that it was even something to be focused on. So I think it's really important for making a good story a great one. Again, Alex in chat, as far as D&D and RPGs go, the hero's journey is one that is always successful or good with the players. Well, to be fair, apathy will kill any game. I'm actually going to counterpoint that. I have tried to do hero's journey before, and I think it doesn't work that well with TTRPGs. I'm still trying a lot of different, like, established story structures like that, the hero's journey being the most famous one. And I think the problem with it is that the hero's journey is designed to be a story around a single protagonist, where with a TTRPG, usually you have a whole party of protagonists, like 3 to 5-ish. Well, that's what my tables are. But you can do like a one-on-one D&D game where there's only one player in the party. Then I think the hero's journey archetype would be fantastic. Again, I haven't tried it. I just think that might be a thing. But when the hero's journey is applied to a larger party, then you need to have all the story beats for every single character. Otherwise, it feels disconnected. Like, this character is going to have his moment, and this character is going to have her moment, and those are going to be completely separate from each other. There are ways to get around this, I think. Like, maybe if the characters were an entire family, and the mentor that, leaves or dies is important to all of them, and every single story beat is applicable to the entire party, then I think it could work. But if, the dead mentor only happens to one character, then it doesn't really affect the story as a whole, and it feels sort of disjointed. And if every single player in the party has their own mentor that passes away, they start to see a pattern. It starts to get old. You need to start like doing new things with it. Maybe you could like try sticking with his mentor passing on thing, which I think is only an optional part of the hero's journey, if I'm not mistaken. If each mentor passed on in a different way or left in a different fashion, then it could work. Or if not all the mentors actually passed on, maybe that could be a thing. But it gets harder to structure the story correctly if you're trying to use a hero's journey and you have several protagonists to apply every single thing to. I've only tried it like once or twice so far because that story structure takes a long time to tell. So I would suggest you try it out for your table, especially if you have few players, like 1, 2, maybe 3. Then I think that might be an ideal opportunity to try the hero's journey inside a TTRPG game. TTRPG. G stands for game. What am I doing? But yes, so my next one that I'm going to try out is a 3-act, like a 3-act play. I'm going to study up on how those are normally structured and try to apply that to a TTRPG because those have a lot more characters. But we'll see if that happens. Again, this is just the stuff that I have tried and I have found to work or not work. My table is going to be different than yours. For example, I stream pretty much every single thing. And that can end up being a very different game than, a home game where you have, the rules change essentially when you're on screen versus when you're off screen. Different things get prioritized. So this is just what works for me. If you think it works for you or you think this advice is good and fun, then give it a like and a subscribe. I can't believe I just did that. Smooth like melted butter. Okay. I think I'm going to let past me do some talking now before I dig myself a hole. Coppers, come out of that room.
Throw in the flash bomb.
Throw the flash bomb?
Yes.
Wow.
And I think
Go.
this is literally the perfect time to take our break.
Yeah.
Like just this moment of
Just right before it goes off, and like Tobias just like.
And he's like, and he
I love
just
the idea of being so lazy that you feel self-congratulatory about doing your
That was a
job.
really great joke.
yeah, that's
I
fun.
kind of did the thing today.
Look
Yeah.
at me.
Mhm.
I think Darwin would say, "Let's roast some piggies" or something, like just to like make as
Is that loud?
I'm so excited.
Is
Yeah.
that loud? I think like I know we're getting ready to go. Like I think Tobias not getting that is he who is the piggy?
yeah.
Oh, that pig's a hit enough.
All right, I'm excited to see what
Amazing.
happens.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So, breaks are important, even in home games, and especially on streams. I find that for a break, the best time to break is right before something big is about to happen. Throwing the flash bomb is so perfect. I could not pass it up. And like the players actively agreed with me, like, yes, now we go to break. Now we cut for ads or something like that. But this it worked. It worked really well. One thing that I have been told in the past by my players is you can't do a cliffhanger like this every time you go to break or end an episode. It cannot be every time. That gets tiring. And it's they start to expect it. And it has less impact if you do it literally every single time. So I'm starting to try to split my cliffhanger cuts to versus my like relaxed cuts, where sort of like, okay, now you lay down for a long rest and we're gonna go take a break, something like that. I try to do like about close to 50-50, maybe leaning a little bit more towards cliffhanger, maybe 60-40% split for that. But that's still something I'm experimenting with, to be honest. I was only told this relatively recently, where a player was annoyed that, of course we're ending on a cliffhanger again, and like the player just didn't like it. So I took that to heart and changed how I do my breaks and my session endings accordingly, and it seems to have worked pretty well.
All right, so back in 10 minutes,
Sure,
2 or 3 after?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, not for us. We are going to stay here. We don't get a 10-minute break. We're going to go, let's see, 1:26, so 1:36 is about when they'll be back. Nope, not quite. Let me mute it and find the spot. Nope. Wow, we took a much longer break than expected. Okay.
Feedback, right as we start. Some friendly neighborhood PvP.
Yep. Let's go.
Like my first PvP
Hey,
experience.
Listen,
Stop.
you guys chose to be cops with a rat. I'm a rat for one, but I'm also jailbreaking essentially and an anarchist. This is the best.
Look, Sprinkles wants the job security. Okay, Sprinkles is here to pay enough money to keep, his Victorian age cable on. That's it.
Well, you got to start
Tobias is
working
just-
for the man.
Tobias doesn't know any better, dude. He's
He's a loyal. He's
Consistent, someone being like, the job you're doing is pretty. Like, I think the threshold it would take him to abandon ship is pretty low.
Tobias has
like, wait, being a cop can be bad?
Tobias just has the nose for it.
Hey, I see what you did there. Awful. I love
Well,
it.
as a quick recap, we've got Hudson the Crow and Darwin the Rat, who are best friends, and they're trying to break Darwin out of this lab in which he's been kept his entire life. Tobias the dog and Sprinkle the hamster are both cops in this animal world, and they have been sent here based on rumors of strange creatures and things coming out of this building. Rumors that are supposedly entirely speculative, but there's been sightings by both parties as they work around this building of something big, brass, and fast, with bright blue eyes lurking in the shadows. Neither of them know what this is, and they've just discovered each other for the first time. And as a gut reaction, Darwin hurls a mini flash bomb made from a camera flash bulb, and we see it go almost slow motion as Tobias' nose looks straight at it as it hits the ground and flashes.
What does they mean by pigs? I'm a dog.
What fresh?
I'm going to ask first Darwin to make a check to see where exactly you threw it. Did you get
Oh my
it
God,
far
if you're
enough
like,
away
if
where
you
you two
blow
are
it,
out
that'd
of
be
it?
so funny. I didn't even consider like this could not work.
It just goes off right in our face.
Yeah, I don't think-
He just screws it in.
Goes off during
yeah.
a wind-up?
Yeah.
it's great. Oh yeah, just ping. Yeah,
Yeah.
throws it backwards in the wall.
That's just the base D10, right?
Unless your character sheet has something that you can justify, yeah.
I mean, he's really good at martial arts.
This is not an unarmed attack.
I mean, he
very,
has.
very armed.
He's,
Flash bulb is not an allowable Kensei weapon, I'm sorry.
I mean, ninja stars. I don't know. Like
Hey.
maybe
That's hilarious.
he has
All
power
right,
affinity.
D10 for you.
He does have power affinity. So
That just affects what you can take as you're leveling up.
yeah, that's fair. All right, D10.
So I don't usually say no in this case, in many cases, but in this case I had to say no. You don't. Like, I felt like Druid was trying to shoehorn in like being able to throw this makeshift flash bomb with like martial arts, and I could have allowed it. I could have said, you know what, sure, this is an attack roll, you're good at martial arts, sure, I'll allow it. But in this case, the predominant reason why I said no is because I really, really wanted him to fail this check. I just think, like, at this point, everyone at the table is leaning into the humor, and it's already going to be funny. But as we had just discussed, like, people said this at the table, if he just completely whiffs it, this is going to be even funnier. And so I'm leaning into the emotion that the players are actively engrossed in, how they are feeling in this current moment. And I'm making split decision rulings on whether or not I allow something based on how everyone feels and the potential outcomes of whatever that ruling is. So in this case, I wanted him to fail, so I made him use a higher die, which of course in sagas means worse die.
10, D10. Good rolls. I fell off. All right. That's an 8.
Bing! I need both Darwin and Hudson to please make checks to avoid being
God.
blinded.
Oh my god.
No, it's
After this
backfired.
moment, though,
I
Hudson
do
has-
respect the chutzpah though, that it took to like immediately on site just
Just block.
reptile green fight or flight. Just
Yeah.
throw it. I'm into that.
Hudson,
I'm also
Hudson
into
has
results.
keen senses of vision. Does that put me at a disadvantage or increase my die size for this? Since this is
Great
like,
question.
Did you sensitive sense is also an option for a struggle, but you don't have that.
it is
So it's
keen,
just a straight
keen sense
D10.
vision for a trait, which would normally, I guess, checks to see things would be a D8, but this is just a 10 to like.
This is a check to not see things.
Yeah, right. Ugh.
You know, it makes sense to roll a 9.
Yeah, that's an 8 for Hudson. Not good. Not good at all.
A 9 and an 8. Both of you fail miserably, and you suffer the wound, blinded. And it is at severity 1. All checks that require vision must use a D12.
Mm.
Oh no!
So
I thought that would work.
As this flash goes off, it illuminates not only the residents/intruders for this building across the hallway that Tobias and Sprinkle can see, but it also illuminates something immediately behind them. And you just get this single flash burnt into your vision of an enormous mechanical cat with bright circular eyes staring down, claws raised immediately over Darwin, about to slash. And right after the flash goes off, you hear skittering away.
So this description right here of the cat being lit up by this flashbulb was sort of like a split-second thing that I figured out in the moment, and I'm so glad I thought about it. One of the classic cinematropes, cinema strategies. I was gonna say cinematographical, which I think is a word, but you know, like in movies where the only time you can see the object of horror is glimpses when a bright light flashes, and so you only see like single frames of the zombie that shambles towards you quickly. That's something I've seen several times, whether it's the flash of gunfire or the flash of a broken light overhead. Or even like a flash silhouetting something from behind occasionally. And each time you see it, it gets closer and closer. I think that this little bit of inspiration really, really worked because that trope is so used so often. I do my best to make my descriptions feel like you're in a movie and feel, cinematographical is not a word. Cinematography is a word. Cinematic. That's what it is. I got there. But I love making these moments feel cinematic by describing things that the players might recognize as something that's commonly used in films of the same genre that we are currently in. In this case, a little bit of sprinkling of horror. So this one flash of this giant skeletal mechanical cat literally about to kill one of them, and then the flash goes off, everyone sees it, and it runs, is another glimpse of the object of horror. Excuse me. It's another glimpse of the object of horror. And every single glimpse they get more information. Now that they know for sure that this thing is a cat, and they know for sure that it wants to hurt them. Those two pieces of information, especially the second, knowing how dangerous this is, they are now aware that this thing is going to try to hurt them. It's not just something that's watching scared from the corner. It is hunting them. And I was attempting to make that sort of more apparent, but unfortunately that didn't quite work. The players were still in the humor mindset. And I think it was okay. Like, it wasn't a bad thing. I was trying to do like a smash cut to from like, ah, ha, 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 all these funny things are happening, and then like, oh god, it just got super serious, because I love that moment where like you feel your heart drop into your stomach, and that's what I was trying to do, but we were too haha for that sort of thing, and that's okay. Like, it worked out in the end because I still got to do those horror things later, and like the and to be honest, Tobias's reaction here is perfect. Like, if a dog got a glimpse of a cat, it's gonna frickin' bark. All right, that's just how dogs work. And so like his decision here was 100% in character. And I think even though it wasn't what I was going for, it still elevated the story. And I think, I don't want to monologue too long here, but I think that sort of mindset as a GM, where you assume the player's decision is correct and you justify it for them, even if it's not what you're going for, ends up, you start to understand what the player wants out of the game even more. And you can start leaning that direction and teeing them up to do more of these things. And that player, and hopefully the rest of the table, has a better time because of it. So I think here I start leaning, I lean into the humors some more, and instead of doing a smash cut of tension like I was trying to do, I start to do a gradual like increase of, okay, something's wrong here. We need to actually start focusing on what's wrong here. And I try to build that tension as we climb to the end of the session now that we started the second half.
Oh god!
I dart forward, like, and just like bounding up, I guess, up the stairs, like, I guess, towards the flash.
As you, what's that, Aetherius?
This is some high quality twine that I'm using as like the
Tobias, you just crash into this room, and you blink a couple of times. Go ahead and make a check to see what you see.
Sure.
While you do that, Darwin and Hudson, what are you doing as your vision slowly comes back?
Did we see the thing too, or were we too blinded?
You were too blinded.
Okay. And all we heard
you guys, yeah.
all we heard was Tobias barking.
The
and
scattering of metal claws, and suddenly.
That's a good Tobias impression there, Dennis.
Why, thank you. I practiced.
I should have tested that a little bit more. Hudson, I'm sorry.
Blimey, Darwin, I thought it was going to work, mate.
It did work.
What happened? Well, it's all right. It worked for a sort of a given definition of work. Technically accurate, the best kind, I suppose.
Yeah, it just worked a little bit too fast.
As you guys are talking to each other, as like your vision begins to clear, you just do that. You see the dog just like the dog curiosity thing. Like,
it's the fuzz. Cheese it, and I leap into the air and start flying towards the exit before I remember that Darwin is the whole point of this. And I turn around and I land sort of in front of him, and I kind of puff my wings up. Oh, what are you wanting, coppers?
Remain where you are. You didn't come out when we were calling you, you little assholes. It's so rude. We've been here for so long.
Language, Gov, language.
I'm an asshole. You're the asshole. You lot are just puppets of the Imperial.
So this is one of the reasons I love running games on stream so much, especially with people like this that have experience playing TTRPGs. Moments like this, where the two parties that have been separate for the entire first half finally come crashing together, and I don't think I say anything here for a good long while as they just role play the whole thing out, that fully in character, ingraining even more what their character attributes are. We've got, the happy cop, the grizzled tired cop. We've got the the rat who is sort of mechanically minded and mostly interested in like making stuff and how things work, but also wants to get out of here. And then, of course, we've got the anarchist Fro, who's trying to break his friend out of a prison of sorts. So just like watch these guys are experts, I think, and just watch this whole scene. I don't have to do anything, and these are some of my favorite parts of running these games, where I can just sit back and let, you know, the experts do what they do best.
Imperialist state trying to keep a good crow and rat down.
What's an imperialist state? I don't even know what you mean.
I don't have a counter argument.
Yeah,
However,
right, mate. You shouldn't. You lot should be working with us, not against us.
Yeah,
against-
you're just the.
we just came in this house and you attacked us.
And also, we're not working against you. We're working for the people.
Well, so
Yeah.
you're gonna help me get my mate here out of this laboratory, then?
Yeah, you're not here to just keep me locked up. Like I'm on.
I think we're getting a bit ahead of ourselves. Let's
We don't know who you are.
no clue. No clue. We were sent here to investigate this particular establishment because we heard that there were some strange creatures being sort of released into the wild, so to speak. Are you a strange creature about to be released into the wild, so to speak?
I mean, I've grown up here and I'm about to leave. I guess, which would be
Why are you
considered.
about to leave? This is your home, yes?
What? Because he's me best
I mean,
mate, and this place is terrible, Gov.
Oh no,
It's
why is
just
it terrible?
awful. It's like the worst sort of atrocities that unchecked governmental control of our lives can lead to.
Oh, well, you have my apologies. Perhaps there's something we can do to
Yeah,
help you out.
yeah. I mean, if you're trying to stop strange creatures, I mean, I'm a rat.
I don't particularly find you strange.
Yeah, we've met rats before. We got
Sure.
rats on the force.
Oh,
Exactly.
and I'm sure you just try to throw him in jail as soon as you see him. That's
Oh,
species
beg your pardon,
profiling, that is.
mate. Look,
No, I like crows too. I'm actually quite jealous that you can fly. I wish I could fly.
I'm gonna like go down on my grappling hook while this part of the conversation is happening. Slowly, Tobias's back.
Also,
Darwin,
point of order.
make a check to see what you hear.
And why are we making that check? Also, point of order. Did you know that you were about to be attacked? There was something very large and was that brass, Dennis, that we saw? Large brass and cat-like.
Feline, yes.
Yes,
Oh,
behind
and
you.
I
It
bloody hate
looked-
I
cats.
didn't see
It
it.
looked
I
like
just
this.
saw it. It's horrible.
There's a 4.
Before, as this conversation is going on, you can hear, again, skittering claws across the wooden floors in the room behind you.
Hudson, I think we might have made a mistake.
So it looks like I did interrupt probably a little early here. Like, I could have let these 4 go and go and go and go and go. And I think I, in this case, this being a one-shot, wanted to keep it under time. I wanted to respect both my time and my players' time. So I sort of like had to edge them towards the plot while allowing them to remain in character. To do this, I said, make a check to see what you see, and spoon-fed just like a little tidbit of information. And in most cases, most players, in my experience, are going to pick that up and say, okay, he wants us to go this way. That's going to be where the more interesting story is. Let's go this way. And I think that's what happened here, but we'll see.
Who our true adversary is.
Don't tell him my name. I'm not.
I'm sorry.
I'm just
Sorry, I meant Red Leader 1.
Oh, right, that's me, and this is Blue Leader 1. This is my best mate right here.
Yeah, that's right.
Sure. Yep.
We'll save that for the paperwork later.
Mhm,
Let's
mhm.
just
Well,
just
wait a
understand
moment.
what's
Who are you lot? Can I see some sort of badge or something? It's all well and good.
Oh,
You
yeah,
just
about
come
to
in
show
here
you shit, mate. We're the police here. We're in charge.
as Lieutenant Sprinkles says that, like Tobias just like hops to the side and like down the side of his armor it just says Sergeant Tobias on it, and there's also like a little collar and like a little little like kind of like a silver trinket that says Sergeant Tobias on it.
All right,
yeah,
well, this one, mate. This one I believe is a copper. You, I don't know about you.
Wait,
I know he's my boss, man.
Wait, what?
He just sometimes likes to work a little bit, incognito, undercover sometimes.
maybe you have some presumptions on what a law enforcement officer might be like. And maybe part of it's correct, but I feel like an all right chap. And Tobias here is the nicest mate I know. He's the nicest mate I have.
Thank you, Gov. I do appreciate that.
I love when you self-actualize, buddy, and he's going to do like the fist bump to his little
I
arm
do-
at the bottom.
I do hate to break this up, but there is something here, though. Like you were saying something about
Cat, yeah, brass cat thing, sure.
a brass cat. I've been here all my life, and I've never heard or seen such a thing. And like,
And
what do you mean by strange creatures. The only creature that I really know of is myself. I've been upstairs in the lab, and I've.
Sure.
Oh, like
Yeah.
the rumors. You haven't, well, I guess you wouldn't have heard, would you? You've been
Sure.
here.
I mean, I might be
Yeah.
part of. Like, I mean, they did some. They helped me like become really smart. Like, I made this really crafty thing. And, like, he shows like his backpack. That's all like.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, and, you know, and,
Blue Leader's brilliant,
Press.
mate,
Sprinkles
brilliant.
is kind of like nodding.
blue leader. All right.
yeah, and
Mate, I gotta tell you, you one of the lucky ones. If these rumors are to be believed, the type of monstrosities that have walked out of the door here are far worse than a rat with like cool backpack.
Trinkets.
Is it
Yeah, we've
worse the
seen people
monstrosities
heard,
inflicted
right?
upon our population by the government?
Well, can you be a bit more specific, Red Leader?
I mean,
Like,
think about it, mate. What are your
Sprinkles is
tax
gonna
dollars going
get
for?
in Hudson's face. He's like way shorter, so he's like, Bill's like, listen, mate. The quicker you listen to us, the quicker we all get out of here. You haven't done anything illegal, have
Why
you?
should-
No reason to arrest you.
Sure.
And
In fact,
unless you have something you'd like to share with the rest of the class.
I think I got to make a check to determine how I answer that one.
I agree.
nice. Let's go.
Oh no, that's an 11.
oh no,
Oh no!
Let's go.
You
I think
must
Hudson-
disobey.
Responds with like the
Darwin's like,
smallest.
red leader, no.
I give Sprinkles like a little chest bump. There's probably like my chest right almost at head height for him. I go, I don't need to listen to anything you lot tell me, mate. Not you, nor any other representative of this stooge of the imperialist scum. I'm a bird of my own mind.
There's a growl behind Lieutenant Sprinkles. I think you might need to calm down, little one,
Just the scotch.
because
Thankfully, I'm
we're
not here
trying-
alone.
Indeed, but first of all, I was literally about to say before you popped off that as far as I'm concerned, you're both free to go. Matter of fact, we should probably escort you out.
That's a really good point. I mean,
Wait,
if
what-
you're fine. And swallowing is like beef long enough to like get them out of here. All right.
All right. Darwin, mate, let's go. Let's out the front door.
Oh, Darwin, it is. I see. All right.
I mean, blue leader.
Darwin Hudson, got it. It, like, you see him like he kind of stands on like on his hind legs, and then you just see like a small like little piece of paper.
So there's a moment there where they mention you're free to go. We can escort you out. And immediately that's a red flag in my game master mind saying, okay, they're starting to plan to go the opposite direction. And I believe at this point, we'll see what I do because I don't remember how I solved this. But I'm figuring out ways to like lock them in, to make them not leave, to make them stay here where the plot is. I don't remember how I solve it. I would probably physically lock them in. Maybe I close the door. Maybe I put another hook inside the room. I don't remember what happens here. A player might even bail me out. You know what? This is a tough one. I don't know how to stop them to leave right now, to be honest.
Puts it back. Do you want to pop on? I've got plenty of room on my back.
I prefer to have my first steps to freedom on my own.
Oh, I understand. All right. Well,
This
is
is
it
a whole thing for him. I don't think he's
sure?
outside.
It's a moment.
No, I've this is the furthest I've ever been. Like, in fact, I'm really curious on like what was in that room, because like
Yeah,
Well, why don't we go find out what was in that room? We certainly still have this feline to figure out. Would you? And I wouldn't want you guys to get hurt on doing our investigation. So, would you mind joining us?
we
to
need
this
you to
other room?
sign these forms that you consent to being here.
I
You
ain't
take
gonna
out
sign nothing.
inexplicably, like 2 clipboards.
Right.
If you can just sign right here, that would be fantastic.
I'm not signing a thing, Rob.
I think
Darwin, what does it say, mate?
Darwin's very naive, and he's being told to sign forms.
Oh no.
It just
I think-
says that whatever happens to you after this point, you're responsible for. That you agree.
I think he's just gonna.
Release.
Yeah,
For lack of a better term, you're detained but not arrested until we get outside.
But then you've got our protection, which you may need, given how you threw that flash bomb.
Is that what that was? You throw that at us?
Oh,
No, it
yeah,
was-
mate. You,
it was a- I mean, I didn't know what if you guys were on our side, or
It's
I thought you were here to like keep me from like getting out, and so I just
in that case,
really-
I forgive you.
Well, I'm curious. I'm moving to forgiveness. What did you say about pigs? You brought pigs.
Yeah, well,
You
there are
tried to
pigs in this
sign-
other room over here. Any pigs over there?
it's just something that that Red Leader likes to say a lot.
We know
Oh.
the names. I don't think we need to go with that riffraff anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what your names is. Wait, I guess you're this.
It's literally
Tobias,
Yes,
right there, it's right there.
What?
He can't read very
My
well.
name is, do you want to sign this clipboard or not? It's a family name, Legacy.
Yeah, that's Lieutenant Sprinkles.
Sprinkles, is it? No, mate. I don't trust signatures and forms and signs.
Darwin just signs. He's like,
Darwin,
what?
you gotta read it first, mate. You gotta read it.
Don't trust. the
I
signature.
trust them. Like they're from the outside. I know you talk about like the
So I think at this point, I succumbed to allowing the party to just be a party, to role play. I did try to shoehorn in earlier a clue for a direction to go, and I just I let that sit. It's good enough for me. They know what direction I want them to go. We'll see if they go that direction. And for now, I have the red flag in my head of they might plan to go the opposite direction, but I think they kind of role played themselves out of that, which is a godsend for me, so I don't have to figure out how to stop them from leaving. But again, I just let them be their characters, and with a group like this, I was really enjoying it. Like, when the party does their banter, as a game master, I can just sit back, give my brain a little break that's been working in overdrive for the last hour. It's really nice when this sort of thing happens. So I just accepted and appreciated the rest and entertainment that they were providing me, to be honest.
Imperial,
Never even heard the word before.
yeah, Hudson likes to say a lot of things, and I don't always understand everything that he says, because I'm very limited on the resources that I have access to while I'm here. But
Sure. Well, you're about to have a whole new world ready for you. It's just in a little bit. So why don't we get on with it?
yeah,
Maybe if Hudson wasn't so confrontational, people might be a little bit more
Oh,
open.
maybe
to
if you
what
lot
you
was sort of a little more
expected.
polite and worked for the community.
Ting,
instead of
ting, ting,
against
ting, ting, ting,
it.
ting.
Oh, shite.
What?
You hear something in the room behind you fall to the ground, something metal.
I'm gonna instinctively grapple up to Tobias's collar to the little seat.
All right, look, I ain't signing nothing, but if you lot are going to sort of investigate this place and my mate here wants to tag along, I guess I'm sticking with you.
I have Hudson's name and description already written down, and it's just a refusal to sign. Hudson, blue leader, whatever it was, red leader, whatever it was.
Sprinkle's gonna crawl up to your little notebook and just write a couple of things, and he's glancing at Hudson while he's doing so.
Mhm.
Hudson's
Oh,
just
I think-
looking right back.
let's go look at that room, because
Alright.
Hudson said something about gears and clocks, and I'm honestly I really just want to understand what's in there.
Sure, before you head out forever.
Yeah,
Let's, in that case-
stock up before I go.
Oh, are you allowed to do that? It's not your property, right?
Tobias, come
I
on.
mean, it's
I
like-
think he's earned it from being imprisoned here for his whole life, wouldn't you say?
I think my partner was asking your friend a question and not you.
I mean, technically, this is my home.
I
True,
suppose that's
I'm
fair.
fine with that. Tobias is also by proxy fine with that. We could care less. Let's get on.
He's right. He's right. I am very fine with it. All right, follow us. Please try to keep close. And he'll start walking out to the hallway and go into the other door carefully.
All right. With Tobias leading the way, all four of you now, for the moment, together, you nudge open this door. So I really lucked out here. For a hot second, I thought the players were going to leave. And I am very glad that they didn't. I didn't have to solve that problem. It sort of solved itself. But I know that red flag popped up in my head. I think if we watch it back, you'll see my face change a little bit okay, let's try to solve this problem. Why are they trying to leave? They know that the plot is here. How am I going to make that more obvious or prevent them from leaving? It happened. If you watch part 1, you can see that this happened earlier in the session, where the window where Hudson came in when the character was being introduced was open, and they're trying to get, Darwin out so they could just go back through the window. And I'm like, oh no, I didn't realize that this was a huge plot hole. Their whole, goal is to get Darwin out, and there's an open window right there, and they'll never actually explore the rest of the house. So I just GM hand sort of slapdash said, okay, the window slams shut and the mechanism that opened it doesn't work. And I did a little bit more description than that, obviously. But sometimes you literally do have to lock the players in a room. Or not the players, the characters. Sometimes you literally do have to lock the characters in the room to get a important plot point happening. Don't rely on that too often, because that does take away player agency. But if it means that your
story, like especially if it's early on, you have this huge thing planned. It's okay to, nudge the players in the right direction every now and then. And in this case, they were literally about to leave and never meet up with the cops downstairs. And that is something that needed to happen. So I did have to, actually shut the window and lock the players, lock the characters in a room. And I am glad that I didn't have to do that again, because twice in one session would have been real bad. I think my actual solution, if they had left, is to allow them to leave, first of all, and then have the mechanical cat follow them outside. I think that's what would have happened. And it still could have made a good story, because, it would have even had that extra little bit of it's raining outside and now we're fighting in the rain, and that's fun. So before we go into the actual plot of the rest of this plot, I'm going to take a quick break. I've been here for a while. I can't find the time right now. I will take a quick break. I'll be back in 5-10 minutes. If you need to, get up, drink something, stretch, take care of yourself, and I will see you back here shortly. Hello, I'm back, and we are going to just jump right in. Break wasn't that long. Let's jump into, I believe I'm about to describe the room in which the final battle is going to take place. And I think I will first, before we get started, I will say something about pacing for one-shots specifically. There is a lot to be said about needing to railroad a one-shot in order to keep it only one session. This is a problem that I see very often, where you play a one-shot and you get like the first quarter done in the first session instead of the whole thing. I was recently, well, not that recently, but I was on a Game Master Roundtable, probably over on Wally DM's YouTube channel, where we talked about how to make a one-shot actually only one session. And one of the consensi, one of the agreements that we arrived at was you need to make sure that combat, the final combat, if there is one, starts early. Because combat, most TTRPGs, even if it's a light rules light one with quick combat like Saga's is, if there is combat, it needs to start early. Maybe about at the point at which you get about halfway through, maybe 2/3. Anything past that, and if you start combat, the session is going to go long. And for streams especially, when you're doing a one-shot, you need to keep it at time, because you need to respect the players. They have other lives. They plan to be here only till 10 p.m., so you're going to hard cut at 10 p.m. And in order to do that, you need to, make sure that there's a way for combat to start at halfway to 2/3 of the way in. Fortunately, I didn't have to use anything super special here, because it's going to start pretty soon as they go into, the final room. But one of the ways that you can do it is have the final boss wandering, like it is in this one. Like I set that up on purpose, because if the final boss is moving around, then it can run into the party at any time. This doesn't work if you have like an actual final battle map set up. We obviously aren't using a map here, so wandering, if you're doing Theater of the Mind, my favorite, tool to make sure one-shots stay one session is to make the final boss wandering, so I can throw it at them literally whenever I want. And like I said, fortunately, I don't think I had to do it here, but it is something that I had to set up beforehand. This cat has been seen, sighted, noticed several times as part of that building tension. So it's sort of like two tools wrapped into one. And the more, another side note, and I won't go on this one too long, but when you have two tools like that, in this case, building tension with noticing something dangerous coming several times in different ways to build tension, and having a wandering final boss so that you can make sure that the session ends on time, those two things work very well together, as they do here. And I've used it several times with my horror games. I really like there to be an object of the horror, and for that object to be something that they fight at the end. So I use those two in tandem very often, and I think it has been very successful, for both building tension and keeping it down to only one session. But let's get back into it. Let's see how my off-the-cuff description goes. I'm going to critique this one real hard, because this is an important description. This is supposed to be a scary room that they're about to see. So let's see how I do. Which opens with a small squeal. You look into this dark, dark room, and it looks like a workshop, like a machine shop of some kind. Pneumatic tools dangle from the ceiling. Corkboards are filled with construction-like equipment, like woodworking and metalworking. You can see half-finished projects. Okay, I'm already not doing a great job. I'm starting with visual descriptions. I said earlier, and I said it last time too, don't start with visual descriptions. I'm really bad at remembering to do this, obviously. Start with things other than visual. Start with what they can hear. Start with what they can smell. Start with how the air feels. Stuff like that. So I'm already messing it up. One thing I am doing is I'm sort of changing how I talk, doing it more softly, because that's the mood that I want the players to have. And when my voice reflects what the players are supposed to be feeling in the moment, it works very well. This is another thing that I had to practice a lot. Because when you're talking like this and you're describing a very scary scene, it's not going to do very well. You can't just say it matter-of-factly. It doesn't work like that. It has to be calm, smooth, and one trick that I like to use is when I slow down how I talk like this, it gives me more time to actually set up the words I say in my head before they come out of my mouth to get rid of the ands, the ums, the uhs, the buts. Well, nobody wants to get rid of butts. Sorry, dumb joke. But seriously, if you slow down how you talk, you won't have to do weird pauses like this or ums. I talked about this last time. It is something that that everyone struggles with. If you watch one of the Dimension 20 shows that Brennan Lee Mulligan, who is celebrated as one of the best game masters of all time, celebrated as specifically, I'm not saying he's great, I'm saying he's celebrated as one of the best. We're not here to determine whether or not Brennan Lee Mulligan is a great GM, but he stutters all the time. There was one description that my fiance wanted me to watch as she was watching it was some horror. I think it was Fantasy High. Someone was being described as scary. You know, something scary was happening. And Brennan is usually very good at that. But he restarted his description 6 times before he actually started describing. He described this red woman with a book. You see this red woman holding a book. There's this red woman holding a book, and he was saying this to stall time and build the description in his head. And one, that's okay. You can stall for time to build a description. That's is all right to do. However, if you want to get rid of that, there are tricks to do it. And talking very slowly is one of them. So that's what I sort of do here. I talk slowly as I do this description, but so far, talking slowly, great. That's why I'm doing it. 2, I started with vision, and I don't want to start with vision. Start with some other sense. I don't even know if I describe another sense. We'll see.
On top of the counters and a couple of pieces strewn about the floor, all of them look like they are made up of some sort of steampunk-esque gears. You see what must be either an arm or a leg here that bends at a joint. You can see a paw here with claws, short and very sharp, sticking out of it. You even see a tail that's sort of linked together like a chain. I would like everyone to please make checks to see what stranger things they might find inside this room.
I don't know why I did this. I could have just... Oh, I know why. So as this description is going, I could just, describe everything. Give them everything that they find in this room. But in this case, I wanted to give the players an opportunity to do well. There have been a lot of failed checks so far in this game. All of them fun and good and humorous, but humor is not the point right now. I want to give them a chance to succeed and see something scary. And by making only one player see this, I get the opportunity to describe this through that character's lens and how they interpret it, which is not something I usually do. It's kind of high level and requires more brain power than I usually have available. But this sets up the opportunity for roleplay. If I say everyone notices something all at once, there's no opportunity for them to tell each other about it and say what they're actually seeing, and let them do the this is how my character sees it and how I would tell them about it. But if you make everyone do a check and you have like 2 or 3 things in the room, just take the 2 or 3 highest checks and spread them out among the players that did well on the check. This is something that I've used pretty often, and especially when they're starting to investigate a room or investigate any large area, have everyone make a check and split out what information you have among the highest results. It works pretty well. Sometimes they all get really, really bad rolls, and I just have to, kind of swallow it and hope that it comes up in some other form later instead of, just getting rid of it entirely. But sometimes, I just got to eat it, and this cool thing I thought of doesn't come up. That's okay. In fact, when that happens, you can lean into it, because fear of the unknown is very much a thing. You can just tell them that you're very distracted. There's information here you're missing, information that might be vital to your survival. And that last part about being vital to your survival would be more important than anything else, because that's what builds the tension. If you just tell them you failed, you don't see what is happening in here, then the player feels bad and you just fail, and that's it. That's the end of the story. It's not fun for them, and therefore not fun for the table. So giving them instead of turning it into this is a failure, this is a failure and now you're scared. So they have something to latch onto.
Oh, finally, a good roll, too.
Would that be vision based? Do I have the wound?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so I have rank 3 in investigate, so I get to use a d6.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay.
I still rolled a 3 on that d12.
Dude, yo.
I got a 4. Does that pass? I don't know what the difficulty is.
I got a 6. I would also say Hudson is definitely looking for shiny, valuable, unguarded objects to steal.
Sounds right.
Same with Darwin.
There's literally nothing in here but shiny, valuable, unguarded objects.
Well,
you immediately begin filling your pockets with pieces of clockwork.
Yeah, Darwin is in heaven right now.
Mm-hmm. You pick up that leg joint, and it's brilliantly made. There are 3 moving parts inside the joint itself, and you immediately start trying to figure out like how it was designed and how it works. And you quickly before you even finish this one, move on to that paw with claws, because each of its claws move individually, and it clearly is meant to hook up to something so that these claws can move under power. It's brilliant. Tobias, you got a 3, and Sprinkles got a 4.
Mm-hmm.
Both of you, when you come into this dark room, the first thing you see is the image of that terrifying thing still burnt into your retinas. As in just like this frozen image, unmoving, no matter what direction you look, seemingly following you where you go. Your eyes slowly begin to adjust. And as they do, Aetherius, you are looking at a face, a mechanical face, with jaws and fangs, as if a cat's skin had been peeled off to reveal a feline cyborg underneath. Tobias, you see something worse.
Oh, cool.
You are tall enough to get a look up onto this table, and you can see fur, matted fur, dark stains on the wood, dismembered pieces of animals strewn across this table, and the knives with which these acts were taken place.
Well, I think I have seen enough here. I think we should all collectively get up and go, including you, Crow. Everybody, we are leaving. I'm going to slide down Tobias to insist that, because the 2 of you are still looting at this point, is going to trying to make the case down in my little hamster body that that's it. Let's pack it up.
Can I have a word? Just why don't you pop up on my head for just a moment?
Darwin is.
So I really, really liked the rest of my description there. Again, I leveraged the talking slowly, where the players hang on every word as information vital to their survival and a clear and present danger becomes apparent. And you could see like and I really, really enjoyed the preface of the second description of Tobias, you see something worse. And the player reaction is like, because that's exactly what I'm trying to make them feel like. So seeing reactions like that is just fuels me, makes me want to do this more. And so I think that helped me and encouraged me to lean harder into this second description because it is supposed to be worse.
Use my grapple gun to get back up top. All right, yeah. What's up?
I just want you to just look forward.
It's gonna make eye level with the horizon, which is now this like horror scene. Okay, we definitely we definitely gotta go. Everybody get your things. You guys want to rob this place? I could care less at this point. Tobias, we are leaving. We are going right now, right?
The room goes dark.
Oh,
The door is closed, and all of you.
So I mentioned earlier not locking your characters in a room for final boss fights where it is clear that this is what is supposed to happen. Good. This is a good thing. So because the door creaking shut and closing ratchets up the tension another notch. So many notches have been and now they're on edge. They know what's coming, and the longer I can keep them there, the better. So in this case, closing the door was not necessarily to keep them in the room, even though that's a happy side effect. In this case, its main purpose is to increase the tension. And there was no decision to be made here. It was clear from my perspective that this door needed to be closed right then as they were talking about leaving.
Look towards it as two pinpricks of blue light appear right at its bottom and begin to grow brighter and brighter and illuminate this horrifying figure. Brass pieces along its back interspersed with this matted brown and gray hair. A tail that is hooked at the end. A face that is like a Terminator had half its skin peeled off. And you see the cat that has been plaguing you since you entered this building. It opens its mouth, and you can see something glowing, also blue, from deep within its gullet. And I need everyone to please make reaction checks as we enter combat.
Yeah.
All right. I'm sorry if I dropped off a bit there. But this was, this closing door was the description, the very first part of the description, or it started the description where I got to explain what this cat looks like. One thing I did like about this, and like I've already been through a lot of the motions where I used here, the slow talking, the mostly just the slow talking, but you're describing something that is supposed to be scary. And one thing that I like to do is make references. In this case, instead of describing fully what a Terminator face is supposed to look like, I just said Terminator face, because that is a popular enough piece of media, especially among nerds like us, where I think everybody got what I was talking about without having to go in and describe every little detail about it. So that worked out pretty well. And now that we are rolling initiative, I think, oh man, I think I am going to call this one early. This is going to be a long combat. but next time when I come back to this, there's going to be a lot of explanation about how I run combat, because it's something I've developed many different skills for, because it's like half the games that I've run have been half combat at least. So it's something very important to me, something that I've developed a lot of skills on. So I think this one game is going to need 4 reviews, 4 separate reviews. And my cat is also screaming at me for attention right now. So Hugo, the Archfey, who we still can't figure out whether Hugo is my familiar or if I'm his familiar. But he needs attention. So thank you all for joining. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, rest of your evening. And remember, everything is going to be okay.